Back in regular session.
Back in regular session. We'll begin with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Trustee Herrera,
Present.
Trustee Levin,
Present.
Trustee Quezada,
Present.
Trustee Bazemore,
Present.
Mayor Garrity.
Present.
Okay, we begin with mayor's and trustees' announcements.
Does anyone have any announcements
I
this
do,
week?
but I gotta find it. Hold on.
Is
Somebody else
Is
go.
anybody ready to share any announcements
I
this
do.
week? Please, go right ahead, Trustee Herrera.
Well, first and foremost, Happy New Year. Hope everyone had a great holiday season. The Board of Trustees last year had a great year when it comes to policy, procurement, and especially the passage of ETPA, I feel really enabled the community to mobilize and organize themselves. So I look forward to really having another historic year in Ossining when it comes to policy and really organizing those who normally aren't organized, in addition to those who currently are. So very exciting year ahead. It is January, so the homeless shelter is open here in Ossining. I've been trying to walk around with some people past 10 o'clock, mainly now by Seatown, by St. Anne's, Aqueduct area, and we're working with the county about doing an actual walk with them past 10 p.m. Currently, we've been having about 12 individuals attend the Ossining shelter. All you have to do is go in front of Open Door at 9 p.m. That's right on Main Street. A staff member will meet you and will either walk you, depending if the host location is closed, or will bus you in a van, and it's open to everyone. The only exception is if you are a child 18 years or younger, that has to be done through a county shelter. And if you give me a call or the village or Open Door, we could help you with that. This month, or really the next 3 weeks, I'll be accepting applications, cover letters, or video interviews for the winter season of internships in my office. And interviews are being held the last week of this month. And formal announcements will be done the first week of February, so I look forward to that. If you're a high school or college student who's interested in getting an inside look on Ossining government and how it works here at the local level, please apply. Next thing up is this Saturday. I'm announcing this even though it's a county event. Playland employs, I would say, out of Yonkers, Mount Vernon, out of the main cities, they employ the most youth from Ossining in the summer. So Playland is having their job fair this Saturday, January 12th, from 9 to 2 p.m. at the county center. And if you want to get an application and you can't attend, all you have to do is call 914-813-7010 or visit playland.org. And lastly, I'm announcing this because it's pretty personal to me and also to many residents in Ossining throughout the country and internationally. This Saturday marks the 8th year anniversary of the Haiti earthquake, where over 200,000 people were killed and 3.5 million affected. All those who are still, being affected by this, either professionally, their families, my thoughts and prayers. And if you want to learn more on how to get involved at the local level, just shoot me an email. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ready, Deputy Mayor?
I am. So, sorry. Good evening and Happy New Year to everybody. I can't believe a couple of days ago it's 1 year and now it's a whole new year. All good stuff to everyone for the upcoming year. I just wanted to make people aware that this came to me from the library on Thursday, January 24th at 7 p.m. There was an interesting show being done by a local artist who is looking at the storyline in a play about the life of a woman who was Catholic during World War II and saved over 2,500 Jewish kids in a really heroic way. And this woman has written a number of plays. The storyline was actually discovered by some kids in Kansas who are not Jewish, who just sort of found some newspaper clippings, and this journey went on to then become a play done by this artist local to us. So I hope everybody is able to go, because I would like to see it and plan to be there Thursday at the library, January 24th, 7 p.m.
Others?
No, Nelson.
Please.
Good evening, everyone. Just want to wish everyone, the village of Ossining, a happy new year. Happy to be back as a part of the village board. I look forward for the next 2 years to actually accomplish a lot. It was mentioned before. There's a lot of work for us to ahead of us itself. So I'm looking forward for the next 2 years and get the community to even better place that we are right now and working together, which is the main focus and for my next 2 years at least. So thank you.
Trustee Bazemore?
No announcement.
No announcements? Okay. Well, I'll start with a calendar announcement, and then I'll go into a few remarks. The Ossining Documentary and Discussion Series is kicking off their 2019 series program with a film called Heal documentary. It will be happening Thursday, January 17th. As always, it is free to the public. The program begins at 6:30 p.m. and happening in the Boudars Theater in our wonderful Ossining Public Library. This is a quote about the movie that sums it up pretty well. "Your body's ability to heal is greater than anyone has permitted you to believe." So the film begins at 6:30 p.m., and as always, it will be followed by a panel discussion guided by the Q&A of the members of the audience. So please join us January 17th, 6:30 p.m. at the Ossining Public Library. Okay, well, yesterday, I was part of the inauguration program, and it was a pleasure to be re-inaugurated into this position as well with Trustees Levin and Trustee Quesada. Back, Trustee Quesada. And I tipped my hand a little bit. I'm going to be doing mayoral announcements shortly, at which time I will make the formal announcement of why Rika is sitting in the seat. I gave my remarks, which included some big picture inspirational stuff and a whole bunch of thank yous, and I'll skip right to the meat and potatoes of the speech because it's important for me to share here tonight. One thing this most recent election accomplished was clarity of vision for the village. Voters in every election district want a village government guided by an engaged community and informed by experts. In 2019, the village will build on our strengths as a diverse and historic Hudson River village with a burgeoning entrepreneurial community. We have a strong foundation of knowledge from studies as well as the expertise on staff and the political will in elected office to establish and implement a clear roadmap for the future of our village. One of those studies was the housing needs assessment that we undertook in 2017. It's time to return to this list of recommendations and to follow it in order as it was designed to serve us best. The recommendations include increasing leadership on economic development, proactive building code enforcement, expanding opportunities for mixed use, mixed income development, a more progressive, affordable housing policy, updating the comprehensive plan, and improving transit options. This is a holistic approach to addressing the greatest challenges we must overcome in our quest for a thriving community. I am now entering my third term as mayor. With each term, I have implemented new initiatives to improve communications between local government and residents. In my first term, I created open office hours and kept the cameras rolling for public comments. With my most recent term, I began the Monday Mayor's Message, which is the email that I hope you receive on Mondays, and if you don't, you can sign up to receive it on the village website. I embarked on a journey of weekly walks to explore every block of the village. These efforts have established a more open and transparent government than has ever existed in our village. But these initiatives aren't good enough. The people I'm connecting with too often look too much like me. Sometimes anger and divisiveness can be a reason for optimism. In this moment when our nation is more polarized than ever, with a president who foments xenophobia, racism, and isolationism, people are motivated to engage with their community in ways they never have before. Right here in Ossining, this recent election shined a light on groups of people who feel underserved and disenfranchised. A goal for any municipal government should be to help its residents attain an equitable quality of life. That can only be accomplished if we find a way to bring everyone to the table, especially those who have not traditionally felt welcomed and included. For years, I have been told by experts and colleagues and even friends that it's simply an unfortunate reality that the people who are going to engage with local government are going to be whiter, wealthier, and older than most of the residents of our community. Every time we seek community involvement, we in government make a sincere effort to reach out in innovative ways to groups throughout the community. Time and again, we make only marginal improvements, and that is not good enough. Now is the time to try a new approach. I am proposing to my colleagues on the village board that we establish a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. Fortunately, we would not be the first community to undertake this kind of initiative. This week, in fact, just this afternoon, I shared with my colleagues an example of approaches taken in other communities. In another community, in particular, I shared the one about Decatur, Georgia. There are certainly others, but that's the one that stood out most to me. Once we on the board have established a clear goal for what we are asking of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, we will turn to you, the community, and ask for you to help us become a genuinely inclusive community so that we can celebrate our diversity and experience an equitable quality of life throughout Ossining. Ossining has many reasons to be optimistic. We are in a moment when people are investing in our community. We have leadership in the village, town, and schools that all want to work together to balance our challenges and goals. We have a clear set of recommendations to set us on a path to a thriving community for all. The comprehensive plan is a major component of this undertaking. It is a multi-year task that will demand significant resources from village staff and elected officials, and it all starts with you, community. The village is creating a comprehensive plan committee to be comprised of community members with a diversity of skills, cultures, and life experiences. The committee will work to establish the vision of who Ossining wants to be in the next 5, 10, and 20 years. So, I hope that you all are feeling as optimistic about 2019 as I am. I believe it's going to be a wonderful year, and I look forward to serving with everyone in this room and so many folks in the community as well. With that, Madam Clerk.
Okay, next we have the 2019 Mayor's Liaison Appointments.
Okay. Well, my first appointment I'm very pleased to make is our new deputy mayor will be Rika Levin. I'm delighted to serve with Rika since she joined the board just over 3 years ago now. Rika is someone that I can turn to and ask for her thoughts and insights. I may not even have to turn to her because she may have called me already to tell me her thoughts and insights. And I very much appreciate her candor and her leadership on so many, particularly her work with subcommittees, which is something we'll be discussing later tonight, and work with liaisons. And I feel that some of the best work that she has accomplished during her 3+ years on the board has been reminding us of the importance of engaging the community in these boards and making these boards and committees the vibrant, valuable, effective groups that we need them to be. And I know that she's looking forward to continuing in that role. The role of deputy mayor, formally, most of what she has to do is if I'm not able to perform my duties for some reason, like I go on a big trip and I'm not here for a meeting or something, then she steps in and chairs. But more often what happens is I step away because I might be recusing myself, in which case she will be chair of the meeting during that time. As much as anything, it's a signal of my regard for you as a colleague, and I'm grateful to work with you.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Okay, so Madam Clerk, I will provide you with a written list after tonight if your notes aren't entirely accurate. But I'm going to be announcing several appointments to liaison appointments to boards and committees. We'll start with the most slightly complicated one, the Downtown Development Fund Council. Rika has been the liaison to this group now for 3 years, I believe, and they are embarking on a really exciting marketing campaign. So Rika is looking forward to continuing in that role as it gets underway. And in the middle of the year, the intention is that Rika will transition the role of liaison to Trustee Quesada. So thank you very much to both of you for taking on this shared role for the Downtown Development Fund Council. We typically do liaison appointments at the first of the year, but I don't believe there's any law saying we can't do a mid-year shift. If we need to do a formal reappointment in July 1st, first week of July, we can do that. But the intention is Rika appointed January through June, Manny appointed July through December. Rika will also continue as the liaison to the Recreation Advisory Board, as well as to the Environmental Advisory Council, which we'll hear more about tonight. We have some appointments to that organization, that council tonight, and they also have, in addition to what they are mandated to do to weigh in on particular proposed developments, they are looking to be a much more active council this year with some new members and some projects that they're looking to be involved with, and we're very pleased with some of the folks who are going to be joining it and some of our new appointees, and so thank you, Rika, for continuing on those two boards. Then for the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council, we're going to have a change in the liaison position. Thank you to Rika and to Quantel, Trustees Basemore and Levin, for your liaison work on the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council. You jumped into the role of liaison sort of as a transition from your role as the subcommittee that reestablished the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council into the form that it is now, and that group has been very active in their first year. And I have asked, and he has accepted, and actually we had a conversation that wasn't between, a few people on that. Everybody on the board has been part of these conversations about what the liaison appointments are. And I'm very grateful that Trustee Quesada will be stepping in. They actually had a meeting tonight, so it'll be next month's meeting as the liaison to the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council. They haven't even been notified yet, so we'll let them know and get Trustee Quesada up to speed. Trustee Quesada will also renew his role as liaison to the Historic Preservation Commission, which is something that's near and dear to his heart. Not only was he the liaison to the Historic Preservation Commission when he was a trustee, before he was a trustee, he was a member of the Historic Preservation Commission, so he has a lot of institutional knowledge that he brings to that group, which actually has a lot of new members. So there's, we are doubly grateful for your participation as that liaison. The Civilian Police Complaint Review Board, and the chief and I just spoke for a moment now, and we'd spoken last week. It's a board that, on the one hand, I'm really proud that Ossining has a Civilian Police Complaint Review Board. We are the only community in Westchester County, I believe, that has one of this nature. That's what we've been told by one of the local organizations that pays attention to that beyond our village. Unfortunately, it hasn't been as active in recent years as it once was. And the trustees and I, and I've spoken with the chief as well, are interested in reviewing that particular committee and seeing if there's a way that we can help it to be more effective. Not so differently than how we approached the Board of Ethics update and the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council update. We would like to establish a subcommittee. So I guess now would be an appropriate time to have a brief public conversation about what a subcommittee is, or should we just hold off until next week's work session?
I think we should do that at the work session, if that's okay.
That's fine. Everybody okay with that? All right. Chief, we can discuss if you need to be there or not, or if you're able to be there.
I mean, I'd like to be there if it's going to be discussed. Yeah, it's.
Are you available next Wednesday? Well, you're welcome to do other things in your life other than attend village board meetings. But if you will be in town and
Yeah,
available, then
I'll be there.
we will work around. We will try and make sure that you're able to attend. Great. Moving on then to the last of the village boards and committees, and it is a new, renewed position, and that is for the Comprehensive Plan Committee, and Trustee Basemore will be serving in that role. It's not entirely different than when the Downtown DRWC Committee met in 2017, and they came up with a really terrific plan, and we expect this to be an equally vibrant and dynamic group taking on a very large challenge in updating our comprehensive plan. There could be, nearly 24 appointed volunteer members in various roles for that, as well as input from some of our boards and committees, and a number of ex officio members, including myself, Bazemore, and some members of village staff. So that will be a really active group this year, and I look forward to your participation on it. Thank you, Trustee Bazemore. Then we have a couple of community groups that we will be appointing liaisons to, and the first is the Chamber of Commerce. Trustee Herrera will serve as the liaison to the Chamber of Commerce, and to the Mid-Hudson Valley Ambulance. Is that really what we call it, the Mid-Hudson Valley Ambulance? Okay. District. Thank you. I don't know why that doesn't roll off my tongue as much as it should. Trustee Quesada will serve in that role. You have served in that role before? Okay. Thank you very much for renewing your role with that. Okay. Then I do have some other appointments. Those are the board liaison appointments. The next appointment is to the village historian. And I've been very grateful for the service the last 4 years of our village historian, Dana White. And she has agreed to continue on in that role. And she's actually here tonight, but were you planning to speak tonight, or did you want, we talked about you coming to a future work session, and okay. You don't have to put her on camera. She's not she's not speaking tonight, thank you. she's just visiting as an engaged community member tonight. Sorry about that. You surprised me when you were here, so I wasn't sure if we changed our plan. So thank you very much, Dana White, for agreeing to serve in that role again. We will look at upcoming agendas this winter and find a work session when Dana can come and report to us. I believe part of her role is she's supposed to report to us annually on what her work has been for the last year, and I'm also particularly interested in hearing what her goals are for the coming year. All right, so we have a number of boards and committees that we will be doing either appointments or reappointments for, many of them tonight, some of them soon. The Civilian Police Complaint Review Board, because we may be restructuring it and developing a subcommittee, we're not going to appoint anyone to it now, and there are a few names that have expressed interest in that we think might be great appointments for that. They've also expressed interest in some other committees, and so that's one of the reasons why we're holding off on making some of the appointments, so we will still have some gaps in a few of the committees, and then there are a few more people that we haven't contacted yet. So there's still a little bit up in the air. We are so very grateful for the dozens of people that have expressed interest in serving in a board or committee. But so far, we do have some that we are going to move forward with appointing right now, mostly reappointments, as well as the Environmental Advisory Council we'll be getting to in a moment. Some of these are mayoral appointments, so I will just read those off. They are reappointments. I'll read those off, and then we'll move on to the board appointments after that. Okay. The Downtown Development Fund Council, it's not the committee, it's actually a council, I believe.
Yeah, it's a council.
We will be reappointing to a 2-year term Catherine Carena, Andrew Kaplan, John Saltzman. All of their terms are 2019-2020 calendar years. We are also very pleased to reappoint Marlene Cheatham to serve in a 3-year term for the Recreation Advisory Board. Either board. Okay, and after that, I believe it is now board appointments.
We're actually what we have up next is the resolutions.
Okay, then hold off. Then, Stuart, how should we handle this? Should we move on to reading a resolution so that we can appoint members of the EAC?
What I would suggest, Mayor, is if we do the annual resolutions that we have in the agenda, and then as part of our regular meeting, after we go through that, there is a section for the actual appointments for the EAC and those folks pursuant to resolution.
That's somewhere in this.
Yeah, it's at the very, it's actually at the very end, pages 22 and 23.
Okay,
Okay.
alrighty.
Okay. So we start
Yes.
with
You heard that right, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't worry, she doesn't read every page. Okay.
We're
Right,
going to start
right?
with the meeting schedule. I will not be reading everything.
Thank
believe me. He threatened me this afternoon that I would have to, but I will not be. She was there. She witnessed it. Okay. So we start with Resolution A, which is the Board of Trustees meeting schedule for the regular meetings. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining will hold regular meetings of the Village Board as set forth on the schedule below for the year 2019 at 7:30 PM at the Birdsall Fagan Police Court Facility. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next we have Board of Trustees meeting schedule for work sessions. Resolved that the work sessions of the Board of Trustees will be held at the Municipal Building, 16 Croton Avenue, as set forth on the schedule below. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board? I will make a comment about this resolution, and I'm going to jump back a little bit. We nearly always meet on Wednesdays. Thank you, Jamie. It was several weeks ago when you sent me the tentative, proposed, considered alternative dates for when we have holidays, and so you'll note that there is a Tuesday, July meeting, July 2nd, and I believe that Wednesday, July 3rd will be the fireworks, weather permitting. And also, some people might not really want to be in town by July 3rd. But then in October, Monday, October 7th, and I don't even remember what the holiday was, Yom Kippur?
It's one of them, yeah.
Right, okay. So actually, that's not so bad.
Yeah.
Those are our only ones. And then we do,
And if one before Thanksgiving, that Wednesday is not on here.
right, why does the year end December?
11th.
Oh, yes, because we just,
Following.
right, so we just decided, oh, yeah, we never meet the last, it seems so early, because the 18th is our last legislative, and then the next week is actually Christmas, and then it's actually New Year's Day, so. We have a short year, guys. All right.
Okay.
I think
we
it's
have to
the same
let-
as this year. It was like the 18th or something this year, too.
Oh, there's a fifth Wednesday, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Official newspaper Gazette. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby designates the Gazette as the official newspaper of the Village of Ossining for 2019 and/or the Journal News as necessary. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Aye. Second, sorry.
Comments on the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, mileage allowance. Resolved that wherever it shall be appropriate to compensate village officials and/or village employees for mileage, they shall be reimbursed at a rate of 58 cents per mile to be paid upon claim voucher after audit and approval in accordance with IRS standards. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Retaining bond counsel. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the village treasurer, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby retains the firm of Orick, Harrington, and Sutcliffe LLP, 666 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York, 10103-0001, to serve as bond counsel effective immediately in accordance with the letter correspondence dated December 10th, 2018. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Retaining special litigation counsel. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the Corporation Council, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby retains the firm of Hodges, Walsh, Messimer, and Burke LLP, 55 Church Street, Suite 211, White Plains, New York, 10601, to serve as special counsel for litigation matters in accordance with the correspondence dated December 14th, 2018. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Retaining special counsel for labor matters. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the Corporation Council, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby retains the firm of Littler Mendelson LLP, 900 3rd Avenue, New York, New York, 10022, to serve as special counsel for labor matters in accordance with the engagement agreement dated December 20th, 2018. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Finance adoption of investment policy. Whereas pursuant to General Municipal Law, Section 39, local governments in the state of New York, including villages, are required to adopt a comprehensive written investment policy. And whereas local governments are required to review their investment policies on an annual basis. And whereas the Village of Ossining has reviewed its policy since adoption in 1993, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees does hereby approve and adopt the following investment policy for the Village of Ossining, subject to the approval of Corporation Council. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board?
Can I ask a question about this, please? Just because we're going through a lot of them. So on this particular one for the investment policy, is there any change from last year? Your knowledge? Oh, sorry, Tom, I should be asking you. I'm not used to this seating arrangement.
Welcome, Treasurer Tom Warren. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year and good evening, Mayor and members of the Board of Trustees. Yes, actually, this year, especially at the request of the village manager, we really looked at these policies to reduce them if possible or to improve them. Specifically here in the investment policy, I took out the recommendation or the authority to invest in repurchase agreements. That's something that local governments generally don't do. They're hard to understand, and they were the ones that caused investment policies to be adopted back in 1993 because of the confusion with how repurchase agreements work. So I took that out. Also, I did make the recommendation that some of these authorized depository limits be increased because we have more cash to invest, and some of the banks were offering better rates than other banks. So that was two of them were increased up to $15 million, and one of them was increased from, I think, 5 to $10 million. And the last change was Appendix A. It used to have a list of about 15 different types of securities, but only 3 of them ever were checked off, so I just took the other 12 off the list.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom. Okay. Did we have a motion? Yes, we did, right? A motion and
did.
second? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So, okay. Now we move on to finance debt management policy. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby adopts the debt management policy as follows. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Comments on the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Finance adoption of procurement policy. Whereas Section 104-B of the General Municipal Law requires the governing body of every municipality to adopt a procurement policy for all goods and services which are not required by law to be publicly bid, and whereas comments have been solicited from all officers in the Village of Ossining involved in the procurement process, now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Ossining does hereby adopt the following procurement policy, which is intended to apply to all goods and services which are not required by law to be publicly bid. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board? This does come up fairly frequently, and I know that we haven't had much time to review this. Oh,
does.
comments from the peanut gallery. Welcome. Welcome back, Treasurer Warren.
I was hoping that somebody would ask if there were changes to the procurement policy.
Are there any
because
changes to the procurement policy this year?
There were, yes, actually, there are significant changes. The village manager and I had worked on this quite a bit. We tried to make it more user-friendly for the department heads, so each of the numbered items actually got a description as to what the section was for. We broke some of the long paragraphs up into different paragraphs. We added bullets instead of just listing everything together in one paragraph. And the biggest change was actually number 4. Number 4 used to just have one sentence that basically said there'd be appropriate documentation. This is where we actually wrote a policy in response to our auditor's management letter that said that our procurement policy did not require us to use purchase orders. So this is, a big addition to the procurement policy to give department heads some criteria as to when purchase orders will be required and how they'll be processed. Other than that, I think it's pretty much the same, other than, as I said, there was some formatting changes.
So, Tom, if I read this, I was 2 pages behind you, so sorry about that. So if I got that right when I read it, it is fill out a PO, goes for a process that you're going to purchase, that has to be approved, and then when a purchase is made, it gets put together. Is that the way this is
Well,
working?
it actually starts with a requisition. The requisition is a request by the department to buy something.
Okay.
And we require purchase orders at a minimum of $2,000 and above.
Okay.
We even added for issuing blanket purchase orders, like in the voucher detail report. For this meeting, we had blanket purchase orders for the health insurance and workers' compensation and things like that. We're suggesting that the department heads also issue blanket purchase orders for everything. You issue a blanket purchase order at the beginning of the year for all the water chemicals up at Indian Brook, and then you draw down on the purchase order through the year. We even experimented this past year with issuing a blanket purchase order for our electricity purchase, and it hasn't really slowed down the workflow in our office. So again, after the requisition, then it comes to the finance department, where I review the requisitions to make sure that the department's got the required price quotes, or use state contract, county contract, other contracts that we can piggyback off of. We also have consortium contracts. Like we used to have the NJPA, which now changed their name to Sourcewell. Last year, we added that purchasing consortium out of New Jersey. And we also look to make sure that there's enough money in the budget to cover the purchase order. I'm sorry, the requisition. And then the requisition at that point gets converted to a purchase order, and it goes to the village manager for final approval. Although, Debbie did say that for some of the smaller items, she would allow me just to go ahead and issue the purchase order directly in our office to save time to get it back to the department, because we don't really want to slow down the process. We don't want the departments to complain that they can't do their work function because they're waiting for a purchase order to be approved.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Debbie, did you want to comment on it, or did Tom get it covered?
He covered it very well.
Excellent. All right. Okay, this comes up pretty frequently when we're paying for something big. People ask, what was the,
Right.
did it go through the bid process? What was, why are we allowed to do it this way? So this is actually one of the items on here that is brought up regularly when we're considering big expenses. So I'm glad to know that it was, at least presented more clearly, and in one case, actually delineated more clearly than it had been in response to the auditor's comments. So thank you. Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So now we move to reimbursement of village employee business expenses, Resolution K. Whereas from time to time, employees incur certain
What page are you on?
I'm on page 11.
Okay, we're going to have to do pages and chapters
Okay.
tonight. Okay,
We're on page 11, Resolution K.
thank you.
Whereas from time to time, employees incur certain expenses in connection with performing their duties, attending training, seminars, and/or conferences, and whereas the Village of Ossining has established guidelines which an employee may be legally reimbursed for expenses, now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Ossining does hereby adopt the reimbursement of village employee business expense policy as follows. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments from the board, I have one, if anybody else doesn't. So earlier, we passed the resolution about mileage, right? Where was that?
58 cents, yeah.
Right, okay, it was letter D. And it said, that wherever appropriate, to compensate village officials and/or village employees for mileage. This has come up before. We have decided that elected officials are indeed employees. However, could it be more accurate if with the reimbursement for business expenses, we use the same language here that we did for mileage and said village officials and/or employees?
In the first whereas?
Well, yeah, I mean, also
Under
the name of the
the
resolution and in the
resolution.
whereas. I'm kind of looking at you, Stuart.
Oh, hello.
Victoria's already approved
Victoria's
it.
ready to move to do as amended, but I just want to make sure that it's appropriate.
The answer is it is appropriate.
It is appropriate, okay. So then in anywhere in Resolution K where it says employees, right, officials and/or employees.
And/or employees. Okay.
So then, any other comments?
Are we up to petty cash? or
Well, we haven't voted on this yet.
Okay, sorry.
Madam Clerk, can we, as amended?
Yep. So, do we need to do another motion?
No.
Nope. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
So, now we're actually, there's a little, it's
Did we skip L?
misnumbered. We
Oh.
did skip L, so
Oh.
it's titled as Resolution M on page 13, but we will
fine.
correct it in the official
Robin's Bridge.
record
Not
of
worried.
this.
Got it.
A lot of letters in the alphabet. We-
Yes.
We didn't run out, right?
We did not yet, no. Village of Ossining financial goals and policies. Resolved that the Board of Trustees does hereby approve and adopt the following financial goals and policies for the Village of Ossining. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board? Okay, Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I guess I should have asked, how different is this than last year? Not at all. Okay, good.
So we're going now back?
Okay.
I'm sorry, what?
Now we are on page 21, Resolution N,
Which is actually M.
which is actually M in reality, but
Oh, okay.
N here at the top of page 21. Personnel Management Benefit Plan. Whereas the Village of Ossining has heretofore historically provided and does currently provide certain employment benefits for elected officials, managers, and appointed personnel. And whereas the village does ratify and reaffirm the benefits which have been and will continue to be provided to elected officials, managers, and appointed personnel, now therefore be it resolved that in accordance with past practice of the Village of Ossining, shall continue to provide benefits for elected officials, managers, and appointed personnel as follows. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board? I'm just looking at the titles. Okay. Are these all the same titles as last year? All right. Madam Clerk?
All those-
Yeah, no, please.
So we have a director of code enforcement, but we don't have a building inspector? Or am I missing that one?
No, the Director of Code Enforcement is the management position for the building department. That is not filled at this time.
Okay.
Is the building inspector, is he part of this, or he's CSEA, so it's irrelevant? Right,
That's,
right.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So then we move to the, is there?
Motion to
Okay,
adjourn.
is there a motion to adjourn the organizational meeting?
so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And now we move into the regular meeting. With board and committee appointments, so I
Oh.
believe we've made that announcement already. So
So we're
are
actually
we
up
missing
to,
anything? On page 21.
No, we've done the mayor, so we're up to
Okay.
administrative report.
So yes, we're up to administrative reports, and we have first from Village Manager Deborah McDonald.
Thank you. I'd like to first congratulate Mayor Garrity on your new election, and Trustee and Deputy Mayor Levin on your appointment, and also welcome back Manny Casada. So you were here when I was first appointed, and it's great to have you back. So congratulations, all three of you, and I look forward to a great year ahead. We have a lot of work to do. My first report is the appointments to the land use boards. And there was a correction. I went through a lot of the appointments for the last several years to make some, figure out who was going to be appointed to which board. So in my announcement here, I'm actually identifying the people that are being replaced, replacing them, and then correcting the terms if that is necessary. For the Planning Board and Architectural Review Board, I'd like to appoint Robert Boker to the term January of 19 through 12/22. He is replacing John Clark, who has an unexpired term, so his term is not quite 5 years, it's only 4. David Chow for the appointment of January 19 through December 31st, 2023. He is replacing Walter Ludlam. Michael Aronson, she is appointed to January 2019 through December 31st, 2023, replacing John Fry. correct. This is Zoning Board of Appeals. Is Christine Sproat. Now, this is a little strange. I need to appoint her for 1 month, January of 2019 through February 2nd, 2019, because that's when the term ends, and then appointing her to continue February 3rd, 2019 through February 2nd, 2024. And that is the Zoning Board of Appeals. For Historic Preservation, I'd like to appoint Catherine Wilson. She actually came on when Miguel Hernandez resigned. She started September of 2018, and her term will end 12/31/2019. And she is fulfilling the unexpired term for Miguel Hernandez. Elizabeth Harlow, January of 2019 through December 31st, 2020. She's replacing Joanne Tall. Julia Quinn, January 1, 2019 through December 31st, 2021. She is replacing Alan Stahl. Adam Markovitz, January 1, 2019 through 12/31/2023. This is his first full term. He has been serving for 2 years as an unexpired term. Remember which member he had replaced. So I don't have that written down. Eric Schatz, thank you. For the corrected terms, back in 2018 in January, I had made several announcements to the ending term. I just want to correct the ending of those terms. For Jesus Lopez, his term will end in 2019 because he is serving the unexpired term of Paywan Era. Kaya Gam, I am correcting her ending date to 2021. She was fulfilling the unexpired term of Barbara Klepowski. Thank you. And Jeff Gasborough, correcting his ending term to 2021. He is fulfilling the unexpired term of Reggie Bush.
I just want to clarify.
Yes.
I think Paywan did resign, but Barbara Klepowski and Reggie Bush completed their terms, and then there was just a lag in appointment, I believe.
No, there had not been an appointment, and they had been serving over.
They had not been
but
reappointed?
they had more than 10 years of time, so they could not be reappointed.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Understood.
For the Zoning Board of Appeals, Robert Fritchie, I just want to correct his expiration date to 2022. He is serving the unexpired term of Lopez when Lopez left to go to the Planning Board. Historic Preservation Commission, I'm going to correct Gary Ganderber's ending date as well to 2021. She is replacing Deborah Van Steen. And those are my appointments for the year.
Great.
Thank you very much.
I'll take this moment to let the public know and also ask Jamie. We had discussed it, but now that it's the new year, let's actually move forward with formally inviting folks who have recently served, been long-serving members of our boards and committees to attend the January 16th meeting, and we will be honoring them and thanking them for their service. So we've mentioned it to some of them individually, but we should make a formal invitation, and that's going to also require gathering up as much historical data and information as we can. Lisa in the manager's office is already ready. She knows this is coming. She has 2 weeks to help us be ready to do the formal honoring. There's some really dedicated community members that have served for many, many years, and we're very grateful for the service. We're still relatively new in having term limits, and so we're in a little bit of a weird moment right now in village government where we're transitioning. So there are a lot of new members that are being appointed, particularly to the land use boards where there have been a number of long-serving members, and it's especially important for us to take a moment to thank them for their service and hope that they continue to be involved in our community and perhaps raise their hand to serve either in a future year, because they really just, the legislation says there needs to be 1 year that they're not a member of it, and then they can reapply, or to apply to serve and take their institutional knowledge to another one of our boards or committees. Meanwhile, we just want to say thank you. So at our next legislative session, when we're here in this room in January 16th, we will welcome as many of these folks who are able to attend. Many of the names that you heard being announced today by Manager McDonald.
Okay, next we have an administrative report from Corporation Counsel Stuart Kahn.
Thank you, Victoria. Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. Next week, we have 3 land use board meetings. Monday is the HPC's first meeting of the year, 7 o'clock at the Operations Center. Tuesday, we have both an Environmental Advisory Council meeting at 7 p.m. and a Zoning Board of Appeals meeting at the same time. Both will be at the Operations Center. The ZBA will be in the large hearing room, and the EAC will be in the smaller room as you first come into the Operations Center. The ZBA has, I believe, 2 or 3 matters on its agenda for that night. HPC will have some discussions with regard to a number of matters, and I know there are different things that the EAC has been discussing, and with the new members coming on, they'll have much to do. So the public is certainly invited to attend all of those meetings, and you're certainly welcome to do so. The next Planning Board meeting is January the 22nd, also at the Operations Center. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, an administrative report from Police Chief Kevin Sylvester.
Good evening. I want to start by just commenting briefly on an arrest that was made last night. I know it's been all over the news, and I notified the board, but I think it's worth mentioning at a public meeting. Last night we had a violent assault at the Cortlandt Ridge Apartments involving one resident of our community and one not. While it is an unusual set of circumstances, it's something that occurred here, and it's something that we take very seriously. So, to that end, one person has been arrested for an assault in the first degree, which is a B violent felony, and he's been remanded on a very, very high bail. I don't recall what it was. To that end, we're deploying extra patrols in that area, although we don't see any reason for anybody to worry. We have some relationship building to do with that, with the folks in that establishment, because we can understand that when your sense of security is taken from you and something like that happens in front of your home, the one thing that you need is police officers around you to make sure that everybody's reassured and know that their community is safe. So, no reason for anybody to be concerned. There's nothing indicating that any other incident should arise from this, but if anybody has any information from that incident, we're encouraging them to call us at 941-4099, and all calls can be kept confidential. In 2018, we entered 28,753 calls for service, resulting in 4,864 traffic tickets, more than 10,000 parking tickets, and just over 600 arrests. Generally on pace with where we are in the past, with the exception of vehicle and traffic, which is up a touch in an effort to sort of deal with some of the traffic problems that we have, a continuing theme for us in 2019. As we close out the year, I just wanted to take a minute and acknowledge Sergeant Ray DeBenedictis, who after 28 years of service retired this past week. You can see some of the fanfare from his retirement on all of our social media. And also, although he's not a member of our department, Chief Angelo Minicchio, who finished up his term with the fire department. And as I see here, he's going to be DC 57, which means he's exactly 20 years past my father's finishing of that position. So, a nice little passing of the torch, I suppose. At the end of the year, we wrapped up our Books and Badges program at Claremont School with 4 more days of reading in Claremont School. So that was a total of 7 full days of our officers spending in Claremont School reading to students, and we intend to continue that in the second half of the school year. If anybody heard more than usual sirens and police cars coming through their neighborhood just before Christmas time, we had a visit from Santa Claus, which again we put on our social media stuff. That was a first year for us, and that went really, really well. Our 2-hour program ended up taking 4.5 hours, but we got to as many kids as possible. We wrapped up Toys for Tots in the end of December, and I am glad to announce that we are not asking for $1 an item or any other charitable donation in the month of January at the police department. We're going to take a month off from asking people for stuff. Going forward, our priority in the first quarter of the year is absolutely going to be traffic, and we know that people are concerned about every single street and every single neighborhood. It is something we take seriously and that we'll be going after actively. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
So, can I just ask a question? I mean, you typical New York fashion, went through this really fast, and I tried to write it all down. At the end of the day, you're about where you were last year, except for some uptick in, that's...
Traffic tickets are up a bit, and that's a result of directed patrols being assigned for the purpose of trying to...
And so is it also, do you have the same staff patrolling out there as you did for the past year or two? In other words, the per person ratio?
No, we're significantly shorthanded right now based on civil service issues that we have, but we're working with Stuart to try and be able to hire more police officers.
So the per police officer is actually higher this year than maybe it was last year, or is it
Well, they're
about
working the same, they're working the same number of shifts.
Okay.
So if somebody's on overtime, they're still responsible to patrol their sector and provide the same level of enforcement just because they're on a second shift. So whether we had more staff or not, those numbers should be relatively close. What it would add if we had more staff is on the double-up days, we could be assigning directed patrol specifically for traffic, and that would increase us further. So the fact that we're able to increase this without additional staff is notable for the efforts of the officers going out there. But we accomplish our mission with what we have.
Okay. My follow-up to that is, I am, right from the get-go, would really like to have more patrol down Main Street, like people actually walking, and I know it's winter, and upward on Croton Ave, like I actually want to see police walking.
We've assigned those as well, and
Okay,
I've
so is that
documented-
any problem with the numbers that you have to accomplish that, is what I'm trying? you
No,
need-
I mean, it is, absolutely, because
Okay.
when we have extra staff, we can put out walking posts that don't have to be responsible to also answer calls for service. What we tell the officers on patrol is get out of the car and walk around. You have to do it periodically. They can't do it for the full 8 hours. It's get out and walk for a bit, go out and patrol your sector, go back and walk for a little bit. It's sort of a back and forth at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Okay. Next, we have organization announcements. Is there anyone that would like to make an organization announcement?
Seeing no one.
Okay. Moving on to village board resolutions. Is there anyone that would like to comment on any of the resolutions on the agenda for tonight? No? Okay.
Oh, I would like to add something. Can I add
Is it related to one of the resolutions tonight?
organization? I guess.
Okay, so I'll just clarify. I'm glad you mentioned that. So there are three times when the public is invited to speak. One is an organizational announcement, like come to our fundraiser happening next week. We've got an event, that kind of thing. What's being asked right now is if anyone wants to comment on the resolutions tonight, and the resolutions tonight include voucher detail report, minutes, the appointments to boards and committees. And then at the end, there's visitor recognition, and visitors are invited to speak for up to 3 minutes about any topic of interest to the general public. Does that help you decide if you want to speak now or you want to hold? Okay, you hold. Okay. We'll look forward to hearing from you during visitor recognition. Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Clerk.
So approval of voucher detail, January 2nd, 2019. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the voucher detail report dated January 2nd, 2019, in the amount of $8,330,582.14. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board? We did actually get an email describing for us what this was about. Tom, you're making a grimace like you don't remember what all those numbers were, but there were like a handful of really big payments that happen at this time of the year. $8 million
My
is
phone
pretty,
is
pretty
back
big.
at my other seat. If somebody has an email from over the weekend, when I sent out the voucher detail report, they said that the voucher detail report was unusually high
Yes.
because there's over $6 million of blanket purchase orders for health insurance, workers' compensation, police life, and stop-loss insurance to allow us to pay those bills throughout the year as they come in. And then there was also capital projects expenses of about $220,000, I think. And then there was about $800,000 or maybe $780,000 for
No, this is fun. Let's see how
for our
close you
general
remember.
liability and workers' compensation insurance premiums.
You're pretty good. I pulled up the email after you gave us that little reminder. So the $8,333,582, the big ones, it's $6,867,955 was for the blanket purchase orders for health, dental, life, and workers' compensation claims. And then you were close when you said 800, and then you said no, more like 780. It was 770,262 for the workers' comp insurance premiums aggregation. And you're dead on with the capital projects expenditures is $221,166. Thank you, sir. Very well done. That was fun. So that's why it's such a crazy high amount. I appreciate you proactively giving us that information and nearly memorizing it. Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Approval of minutes, December 19th, 2018 regular meeting. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the minutes of the December 19th, 2018 regular meeting as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Opposed? Abstention.
I have to abstain also. I was not here
Oh.
the 19th.
Oh,
Well, it's a
okay.
good thing the rest of us are here tonight. All right.
Okay. Resolution for appointments to village boards and committees. We have to the Environmental Advisory Council, Leilani Dooley, Thomas Boland, and Kate Schlott, all filling a term from 2019 to December 31st, 2020. For the Board of Ethics, Michael Carnes, filling a term from
Oh,
2000.
we have to vote on these, right?
You do?
All at
think she's
once,
gonna-
or do you want to do
Oh,
them
okay.
separately?
What we had done is, we had done a resolution basically that, actually, it's kind of funny, the.
I don't
Yes,
see the
I know.
resolution in here. It's just a list of blanks.
Yeah.
I did, Kate. She didn't put it in. Okay. Resolved that the following individuals will be appointed to the terms as detailed by the clerk to the Environmental Advisory Council, Board of Ethics, and Landlord-Tenant Relations Council.
Okay, so I noted the Environmental Advisory Council and Board of Ethics, Michael Carnes from 2019 to 2021. For the Landlord-Tenant Relations Committee, it's Gretchen Metzloff and Natalie Felsenfeld, both filling a term from 2019 to December 31st, 2020.
Let me just correct, it's not a committee, it's a council.
Council.
And also for the two LTRC members, they are both in the neither landlord nor tenant category.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Comments on the board? I just, before we vote, because it's somewhat related, I wanted to follow up on, no, let's just vote on this, and then I'll make it. Madam Clerk?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
So I'll do it in continuing.
Okay, so we'll move on to continuing business of the board.
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for stepping up and being very clear on what your interest is in your liaison work. And our liaison positions are things that many of us take very seriously, and it's an opportunity for us to provide insights from what the board is thinking to what the committees are thinking and vice versa. And one of the habits that we had gotten out of in recent years was because our work sessions seemed to have been going so very long, we hadn't been making time to do liaison reports, and that's something that the trustees and I are interested in renewing this year. There is one position, liaison position, that has not been filled that we're figuring out still, and that's to the Ossining Arts Project. So that is still to be determined. And it does always state that the mayor is an ex officio member of all committees, boards, and councils, which is a little bit of a weird thing because the liaisons, I don't know if ex officio member is really the proper term, because none of us should be voting as liaisons. We're really there to be a go-between for informational purposes and sometimes to be, helpful, either with a new one or with one that's facing something for the first time, or to report back to us so that we know how we can better support them or how they might need to communicate with us. So, I'll have a conversation with you offline about that, as far as where does that language come from, that the mayor is an ex officio member of every board? I don't know where that comes from, but that's what we always said every year when we did these appointments. Ex officio member means you're a member, but you're a non-voting member, which... All right. Okay, thank you. Any other continuing business? Madam Clerk? Madam Clerk, seeing none? Oh, Mr. Khan? Yeah, we did. Yeah. No, understandable, but we did. We did vote unanimously.
Move on to visitor recognition. Is there anyone that would like to address the board?
Please join us. Would you please tell us your name and address? You can be vague if you want.
Okay, well, my name is Kimmy Pold. I am on South Highland Avenue. Congratulations, Victoria, on your reelection. Congratulations to Rika and Manny. I look forward to working with all you guys this year. I didn't come here to speak, but I think it's a great time to ask the board for a liaison, or I don't know if that's the correct language, for the My Brother's Keeper. The town does have Jackie Shaw that attends the meetings. Quantel has been to several meetings, and he's also one of the mentors for MBK. So if you guys, can, I don't know if you vote or what, but if you would like to be the liaison for the village.
Thank you for bringing that up. It's actually a mayoral appointment. We just
Okay.
hadn't thought about it.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
this is good.
This is the
Yeah.
time, the meeting that we would talk about it. You're already attending and you're active, so will you, then, Madam Clerk, would you add to the official liaison appointments that to my brother's keeper will be Trustee Bazemore, and you'll continue as you have been, but you'll just keep in mind that you will be reporting back to us and sharing any information from village government with MBK, which I imagine you're probably doing anyway, but now make sure, officially come back to us and make sure we're keeping apprised of what's going on. Thank you, that was a
All right,
great idea.
awesome. Thank you.
Oh, that's great.
Do you want to tell anybody what MBK is about, now that we're talking about it?
My Brother's Keeper initiative is an initiative that was started by President Barack Obama. It's basically asking community members, particularly young men, to mentor young men of color. The program has been in Austin for approximately 2 years, and we just had a kickoff. I believe I want to say December 13th. I'm not sure, but
That sounds right.
it was a Thursday, so more to come.
And thank you for the proclamation.
Yes, the village and town were very pleased to celebrate the official launch last month with the proclamation, and it was a room full of people that were really engaged, this dynamic group, and I look forward to their great success on behalf of so many young people in our community. Thank you, everybody who's making that possible. Any more visitor recognition? Madam Clerk?
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Let me get a second.
Lots of approval.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And with that, our first meeting of 2019 is adjourned. We look forward to seeing you next week at our work session at 16 Croton Avenue, Village Hall. This meeting is adjourned.